Okay, hi everyone. My name is Annabel Lynch. I'm a therapist and coach from Scotland. I'm based in Dubai and I've recently lined up with Just Be Wellbeing Centre to provide a range of women's wellbeing workshops. So seeing life through a feminine perspective is at the core of my work. So I work with a unique set of concerns and challenges that we face as women, both in our personal lives and at work. So I aim to address these when working with clients, and as well as any issues that they're currently experiencing. So I work across a range of issues to support healing and well-being on multiple levels. So this includes things like working on healing stress and anxiety, healing relationship issues, healing low self-esteem and building confidence, helping someone to increase their self-awareness and their emotional intelligence, healing emotions from the past. It could be that someone's experiencing a low mood or is constantly maybe feeling tired, drained, depleted. It does happen to a lot of us. Or it could also be that they want to improve well-being and their quality of life over multiple areas, such as their relationships, work, friends and family, personal development, or maybe it's to manage change and transitions. So it's really a tailored approach that I base on the needs of clients at the time. But I also work holistically, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So that means that we're focusing on the whole person. So we're working on mental well-being. So that's the mind. So your thoughts, thinking styles, any long-term beliefs that could be holding a person back and not fully supporting them in their life in the present and who they are right now. We're also working on emotional well-being. So working on healing any unhealed emotions from the past. So this can include things like feelings of sadness, feelings of guilt or shame, which are really, really prevalent in women. Working to build a more positive emotional state and one that ensures that emotional needs are being met and enables a person to experience more positive emotions on a daily basis. So that's things like more love, more joy, more happiness, and that's going to help us to feel a lot better in our day-to-day lives as well and in our relationships. So throughout all of this, we're also working on the physical body. So that's taking care of the physical body, implementing positive lifestyle behaviors to ensure that people have the energy and vitality that they need to live a long and healthy life. So this is a bit about what I do. So for the short live, I wanted to go into these different elements of well-being with you in a bit more detail and provide you with some tips as to how you can maximize these to promote optimal well-being within yourself. So I do have a 4-week women's well-being course starting with Just Be on Wednesday. And these are some examples of what we'll be covering during the course. So they're all tools from the field of positive psychology and mind-body medicine. So it's 2 of my favorite fields of study because they both provide really tangible tools. It's something that I'm very passionate about, is teaching my clients the tools that they need to help them to cope and also to help them to live well. So these fields really give us these evidence-based techniques that are very structured, so they're easy to use, and they're also really, really, really effective. So I've used them time and again with clients, and we usually see really incredible results. So let's start with mental well-being. So how can we promote what we call positive mental well-being? So the first thing that I would do is to have a look at your inner critic. So particularly for women, one thing that we can really work on that usually helps us to feel a lot better really quickly is our inner critic. So that's that voice in your head that might tell you things like you're not good enough, you didn't try hard enough, everyone else is better than you, or maybe that you need to do more. And a lot of the time, like when you feel sad or you don't have enough energy or you're just not feeling right, it can actually be because of this voice of a harsh inner critic. And more so, it also has a detrimental effect on our bodies. So if you can imagine there was someone in the room with you and they were saying all of these sort of mean things to you or putting you down in any way, you're going to feel quite bad and you're going to feel quite anxious. You might feel stressed, maybe you feel angry. So that's actually the same effect that you're getting when it's you saying it to you rather than when it's someone else saying it to you. But a lot of the time, you know, we accept these things from ourselves that we wouldn't necessarily accept from someone else. So you really want to start like being aware, like observing what that voice is saying. You know, for some people, they can even keep a journal, and it's really, really helpful. And then once you're aware of it, it's actually quite easy to make changes. So you want to change that into something that's a lot more helpful. So something such as self-kindness and self-compassion. is a good place to start, as opposed to having this harsh inner critic. In addition to that, we want to also look at the way in which you're thinking. So there's a lot more about this in the course, and in psychology we call it thinking styles or thinking traps. But quite a sort of commonly used example is something called catastrophizing. So for a lot of people, they have this mindset that if something goes wrong, in Scotland we call it making a mountain out of a molehill, which is sometimes necessary, but more often than not, it's actually not helpful. So it could be something as simple as you're late for work, but because of the way that your thinking is designed, your mind will be thinking things like, well, I'm late for work, I'm going to get in trouble, what's my boss going to say, maybe I'll get fired, I might have to leave the country, what about the children? And this is all kind of like rolling around in your head. So by the time you actually finish this journey, you're going to be feeling quite stressed out and quite anxious. So it's also about monitoring where your mind naturally goes and then working to replace it. So a lot of people actually ask me how they can stop thinking, which is something that's really, really interesting. It's something that a lot of us do actually strive for. So the most effective tool in my experience that I recommend very regularly to people is actually mindfulness. So for those of you who have practiced this, it's really incredible the results that you get, and it actually changes the structure of your brain. So that's when you're really present in your environment. So for example, just now it could be looking around and noticing what you're seeing around you, looking around and noticing what you can hear, what can you feel, can you feel your back in the chair? Can you feel your feet? So it's really important to be grounded. So these kind of techniques also really help with something called self-regulation, which can be mental and also emotional. So there's lots of other tools that you can use that we will be covering in the course. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about, the second element after mental well-being, is emotional well-being. So this is when we speak about emotional well-being, and then we want to be healing any negative emotions from the past, but then we also want to be building on top of that. So in positive psychology, what we're working from is almost like an even ground. So we do want to work on healing all of these negative emotions, but are accepting them as much as we can. But then once you're there, you also want to be building positive emotions on top of that. So it's more of a development and a coaching approach to psychology that really helps people to be resilient and to feel really good on a day-to-day basis. And it's not that you have to be happy all the time. I think that's a common misconception and something that's become quite popular as we've seen the rise of the self-help movement and the New Age movement as well. A lot of people do have this perception that they need to be happy, and if they don't feel good, that something's wrong. It's not necessarily about that, but what we would want to be striving towards is a ratio of about 3:1 positive to negative emotions. And it's not to say that these negative emotions are bad, actually. So for those of you that kind of are in tune with how they're feeling, what's actually happening in your body when you have a negative emotion like sadness or anger or fear, what's actually happening there is your body's trying to communicate to you. So that means you have a need that has not been met. So they're messengers for us. So you want to think, okay, well, I'm not feeling really good right now. What is it that I'm not doing that I really need right now? So maybe it's that you have to take some time for self-care. Maybe you need to have some more autonomy. Whatever it is that you're needing, you really want to try and work with that. And usually what you'll find is if you address the need, you're going to feel a lot better quite quickly. So how can we experience more of these positive emotions? So feeling more happiness and more joy. So again, as we've just said, one of the best things that you can do is ensure that your emotional needs are being met. So we can actually do a survey and go through all of the different emotional needs that a human has and try to identify where you stand with all of these and how your needs are being met in your own life. So it's going to be different for everybody. But these include things such as security, so having a sense of security. It's also in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, giving and receiving enough love and attention, having a sense of control, a sense of privacy, also having an emotional connection to other people, having a sense of achievement. That's a really, really big one that we focus on in positive psychology. So having those goals in place and making sure that you're achieving them. And they're all really important factors in managing emotional well-being. So as we've said as well, we also want to work on healing any past hurts. So any emotional states that you're carrying over from before, because these can cause you to stay stuck. And again, it's tough for women because we're natural caretakers. So our natural tendency is to care for other people and almost neglect ourselves. So if you're caring for, maybe it's people at work, maybe it's the family. So we have this tendency to to give a lot and to nurture because that's part of the feminine nature. So sometimes that doesn't give you that opportunity to process your own things. So it's not that you want to completely forget things that have happened. You do want to learn from them. But what happens with our emotions is a lot of the time they carry a charge. So you really, and they get stuck inside of us. So you really want to work on letting some of that go. You can do that through talking therapy. So that can either be with a professional or it can also be with family and friends. And we can also do something called body work or somatic work. So it's actually a form of psychotherapy that's based in movement as well. So it's really interesting and it helps you to kind of let go of all of those stuck emotions as well. And then you also want to do things that are helping you to build positive emotions. So it sounds really obvious, but doing things that you really love, it is obvious and it is simple, but it's the first thing to go when people start to get stressed. So we really need to remind ourselves to do these hobbies and things that we enjoy doing. Maybe it's socializing or cooking, maybe doing some art or reading a book. So really making time to do these throughout the week. Lastly, it's good to learn to also just to manage and regulate all of these emotions so that you can maintain emotional well-being. So in emotional intelligence, we call this self-regulation. So how can we actually do this? Again, one of the most effective tools that I use is mindfulness meditation, because it just enables us to step out of where we are and to get back into the present. And it really takes away, again, a lot of the charge of what we can be experiencing in the moment. And the second one is deep breathing exercises. So this has an amazing effect on the body. And again, it's actually very simple. So how it works is that when you deep breathe into your belly, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of the stress response. So you're able to really keep yourself in that nice calm state. Okay. And lastly, in terms of emotional well-being, where a lot of people get into trouble is that they're not living a life that's aligned with their values. So first of all, you want to know what your values are. So these can be things like family, security, maybe independence or excellence. So when we do work on the course as well, I have like a big list of values that will get people to identify, and then you want to work out how your life is aligned or not aligned. So an example of this might be if you really value family, but then you have to work really long hours, so you're not able to spend time with your family. Over time, that's going to really, really zap your energy and affect you emotionally because it's something that's really important to you. So you can go through all of the different areas of your life and find out where they're aligned or not. Okay, and then the third element that we work on is physical. So while most of the work that I do is on mental and emotional, you also do need to be taking care of your physical body for you to feel your best. So the effects of diet and sleep and exercise on how we feel mentally and emotionally is incredible. And vice versa, they're all interlinked. So how you feel emotionally has an effect on your physical health, it affects your sleep, it affects your immune system. And then, for example, what you're eating is going to affect your energy. It's also going to affect how happy you feel on a day-to-day basis. So it's all interlinked. So we want to really develop positive behaviors around our lifestyle. And again, it's one of the first things to go when people start to feel stressed or they're experiencing a challenging time in their life. It's just everything goes out the window for a lot of people actually. So maybe they don't go to the gym or they start eating more junk food because it's comforting. So you really want to pay attention to that as well. And there's a lot of psychological elements that are involved in being able to take care of yourself in that way on a regular basis, actually. And we touched on it before for a lot of women. They have this focus on nurturing for the family. So it's also about giving yourself permission to also have that time to take care of yourself as well, which I think is a tough one for other people. I've also worked with people, for example, they don't necessarily have strong boundaries. So they're not in a position where they feel like they can say no to people. So again, they're always forgetting about themselves because they have this thing where they want to really kind of take care of everybody else. So it's about developing that strength, and also awareness about where your boundaries are, what you want to say yes to and what you want to say no to, so that you can protect yourself and have that time for yourself, for your own self-care. So as you can see, all of these elements are all linked, and they all do build up to affect your overall well-being. Ideally, you would be doing moderately to sort of well in all of these. It doesn't often happen like that. Sometimes one of the areas will be down because something will be happening in our lives. But this is like a general guide of all of the different areas. You can take small daily actions in each area to build that up to an overall sense of improved well-being for each of you. So I will be covering a lot of this during the 4-week course. So it's going to start on Wednesday. If you'd like to sign up, you can speak to Just Be. So we're going to be going through a lot of this in much more detail. We'll work through identifying limiting beliefs, values, how you can let go of past hurts, building confidence, also identifying what your strengths are. So this is something we work with in positive psychology, and we really want to know what's unique about you as an individual and how can we make the best about you even stronger. So really working with that. We'll be working a lot on resilience. So that's something that's been, really required recently, is the ability to be resilient, because we all have so much change going on at the moment. So resilience is when you're able to manage change successfully and still stay strong in the face of adversity. So we're going to be teaching a lot of that as well, and also self-compassion, which is something that's really important for us as women. We'll be teaching emotional intelligence, so how you can manage your emotions, how you can have better relationships. You don't have to do the whole 4 weeks. So there's individual weeks that you can sign up for. And I'm also available for individual sessions. And again, you can just contact Just Be for this. So, and if you have any questions, you can just email Just Be, or you can reach out to me as well. I'm sure they can pass it on. Happy to answer anything for you. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and hope to see you on the course.